Welcome to the Program Design Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Monique, teacher and curriculum writer turned program mentor and business strategist for coaches, educators, and online experts. Whether you're looking to create your first ever group coaching program or scale your current offer for more freedom, revenue, and consistent income, this is the podcast for you. Here you'll find practical strategies and encouragement mixed with a bit of manifestation and intuition to help you grow and design a program you absolutely love. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the Program Design Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Monique, and in this episode, we're going to be diving into why and how to make calm a business strategy, which is not something you often hear in the online world. So if you're like me and you're like most entrepreneurs, right? We start our online businesses for more freedom and of course, we want to make more money. So we want to choose our own schedule, who we work with, how we spend our time. And the thing actually I've been struck by or I've been thinking about recently is about how I'm going to Europe with my family for almost a month. And how I've been going to some events. I don't go to very many, which we're going to actually be chatting about in this episode, but every once in a while I'll go to an event with other local entrepreneurs. And of course, a lot of the women that I meet have brick and mortar businesses. And sometimes people talk to me and they'll say, my gosh, I love that you run an online business and you do like programs and they call them courses. I would love to be able to do that one day because like I spend so much time in my clinic or in my studio or in my restaurant or whatever it is that they're doing, right? And I was so struck by that recently is that I'm batching all these podcast episodes before I leave and I'm still thinking about, okay, what am I going to be doing when I'm away? I'm going to really focus in on my delivery so my clients don't feel any difference. I'm still going to be available on Telegram and sending them different thoughts, mindset shifts in our encouragement channel and chatting with them through different things that they need support with, stuff like that. We're still going to be doing our coaching calls. I still have some workshops planned, but I'm not going to be doing as much on the outside of the business. So I'll still be doing like some of the marketing. I'll still be doing stuff on Instagram. You can follow along on my trip, but I'm batching these podcast episodes. I'm not going to be bringing new people into the program. So that's really the focus, right? And I've been thinking like, if I had a brick and mortar business, like you have to have a big team to be able to go away and spend this much time away. But for me, it's like, oh, it's no problem. I'll just go away during the day. And then in the evenings, when I need to do some calls and things like that for my groups, I'll just do them in the evenings and it'll be fine. Like it'll be like, it's actually quite simple, really. And that's because we have the online business. So yes, that's why we go into it, right? Choosing your own schedule, the freedom, flexibility, all that stuff, right? The trade-off though, that I think a lot of us don't always talk about or we don't hear about that maybe like the 9-to-5 world would see is that entrepreneurship can feel risky, right? So you might think about that when you first leave. And I kind of thought at one point, like once I make enough money to like quit my job and I'm in my business, I'll be good, right? But you don't really realize when you quit your job that there's still... It's not that like entrepreneurship is always risky, but there is an element of you are responsible for everything, right? Like you're responsible for bringing revenue into your business. If your ads suddenly get expensive, a launch doesn't work out the way you thought it would, or you all of a sudden have a lot of refund requests or like, your tech breaks or whatever, it's all on you. Like you are responsible for it. And that's why it's so important to make sure that you're actually doing the things that bring in money to into your business on a regular basis, right? The buck stops with you. Like you need to make sure you're bringing money in, right? And I mean, I think we know that, but that can feel stressful. That can feel risky when things don't work out the way that you wanted to. And I think there's such an emphasis on like more revenue in business and like the freedom in business. But if you've been in business for any length of time, yes, you might want that freedom. But the thing that I think that is maybe not spoken about enough that I think is really, really important is having calm in your business, having predictability in your business, having a sense of regulation and consistency in your business so that you feel safe in your business. So like I was chatting about this with a friend of mine and we both have a peer master. She's one of the members of my peer mastermind that I'm a part of. It's 3 friends and I, when we get together on a regular basis, chat on Voxer, and we chat every 2 weeks generally. We make a time to meet. And we were chatting recently and she's a past teacher like me. And she said, yeah, like I think that's why regulation, consistency is so important to me because there's a part of me that liked that in teaching. Like there's a reason I became a teacher, right? And I thought, oh my gosh, yes, like that consistency of like school starts in September and finishes in June. It's always the same time of day. And there's like this, you know what to expect. There's ebbs and flows in the school year. And maybe the career that you originally chose, if you weren't always an entrepreneur, maybe it did have that level of like security and safety. And then you get into entrepreneurship and it doesn't necessarily feel that way. Now, maybe if you've created a lot of repeat one-to-ones or you have a lot of regulation around that, fantastic. But I think a lot of us don't in the online world. And I think it's really something to explore is how can you create a calm and regulated business, one that allows you to feel safe in your business, to know what you're doing next, to always know what to work on. Sometimes we can get stuck on like, what should I even be prioritizing? Because there's so many things I could be doing. When there's a rhythm in your business and there's a calm to it, you know what to focus on, you feel calmer in your days, and that really spills over into your life at home. Like if you have a family like I do, with your friendships, with your relationships, because you don't feel that fight or flight on a regular basis, which I have absolutely felt in my business in the past. And so that's what I want to get into today is how can we create that calm in our business? How can we create that regulated business so we feel good during the day and we also show up in our relationships in the way that we want to because our businesses aren't stressing us out. So the first big idea that I want to share in this episode is what I've noticed is that the very quality that makes you a great entrepreneur is the one that stops you from scaling and keeps your business from feeling stressful. So here's what I mean by that. So I first kind of heard this original concept by one of my mentors, James Wedmore, and he often says, the thing that makes you a great entrepreneur is the thing that stops you from being a great business owner. And we're going to chat about what that means here. But what I see it, and I totally agree with him there, but the thing that I've really noticed with my clients is the thing that makes you a really great entrepreneur. It can stop you from scaling your business, and it's the very thing that keeps your business feeling stressful. And here it is. It is your ability to think of new ideas and to sell those things. And you might be like, yeah, Lauren, I'm not that great at selling things. But is that true though? Because if you are like me, and if you're like most of my clients, oftentimes you actually have created a lot of other things in the past, and you've always been able to sell them at least a little bit, maybe not to the degree that you wanted, but you have been able to sell offers, one-to-ones, done for you, different programs, memberships, whatever it is. You've been able to sell them, likely. If you're listening to the podcast, maybe not as many as you wanted, but you were able to sell them and you have new ideas that come to you on a regular basis. And it's funny because when I first became an entrepreneur, like I felt like, oh, I really needed to like take on the entrepreneur mindset. Like I really see that I was like very much in the teacher, like employee kind of way of thinking. I didn't really think of myself as an entrepreneur. But in retrospect, I always have been. I've always been the person that's like always has new ideas. And before I became an entrepreneur, I was always looking for new jobs. I wonder if you can relate to this. I remember very clearly like working for the university. I won't share which university it is. When I was younger, and I would finish all my work for the day in like 2 hours, and I was working in the office, and then I'd be bored, and I was like, I need to look like I was doing something, and after a while, I'd get bored, and I was like, oh, I wonder if I could do something else. I wonder if I could get another job, and then I looked for another job, and I would run like multiple jobs at once, or I'd get tired of one job and I get a new job. And so I got really good at interviewing. I would always get new jobs. I was a youth worker for a while. And then like I became a teacher and I did different grade levels and different schools. And I was always trying new things. And I realized that that's like my entrepreneurial side. I always had new ideas and new challenge. I'm going to try this thing. This looks fun. I'm going to try this thing. And if you relate to any of that, like if you always have new ideas, new creativity, that is the strength of the entrepreneur. And that's a side of me that I didn't even recognize, like, oh, that's my entrepreneurial side. I've always had that. I didn't even realize. I wonder actually if you can think of an experience when you were younger, like doing something entrepreneurial. Like when I was 13, I remember deciding I wanted to start making money. And so I put up like flyers in the local schools to start tutoring, and I got like tutoring clients. And I always thought I had a job, but in retrospect, I'm like, no, I got myself clients. Like I had little flyers and I got myself little like tutoring clients in the neighborhood when I was 13. And so I've always been a little bit entrepreneurial. I didn't really realize it before. until a few years ago, I would say. And what I see is that most of my clients would relate to that, right? And if you're listening, you probably relate to it too. You have a lot of ideas. You have the ability to make something happen that didn't exist before. And that's that very same skill that can stop us from having a calm business and having a business that scales. Because instead of sticking to the same thing, and growing that one thing, we flip flop and try new things because ooh, this sounds like an exciting idea. And what if it works better than the other one? I'm going to try this one instead next, right? And so instead of being able to scale and grow this one thing, we start thinking of this new thing and this new thing and this new thing. And every time you do a new thing, a new offer, you need a whole new sales strategy. You need a whole new offer. You need new messaging. You need a new product. You need to actually go out and sell it. It's tiring to be in that creative process. It's fun and exciting for a lot of us, but it can be tiring, and it's not calm because we think, what if this doesn't work? What if I can't sell this thing? What if I put all this energy into it and it doesn't pan out? Right? That's not calm. And so the first thing I would think about is, if you do want to have a more calm and regulated business, is to think about am I focusing in on selling one thing regularly, or am I always creating new? And let me tell you, I understand, because I've created, oh my gosh, well over 100 offers at this point, so many. And I still do create new offers kind of for fun, or new things that I want to try, get new ideas. My rule though is that I have to have one signature program that is the foundation, and then I can do new creative things on the side, but I have to stick to one thing because that's the foundation in my business. So that kind of leads me to the second idea. So the first idea, just to sum it up, is that quality that can make you a great entrepreneur, the quality of creating new ideas, of thinking of new things, of being able to sell. Honestly, a lot of us can sell, have created new things and sold them. That's the same quality that stops you from being able to scale and have a calm business, because you're always in this creation mode rather than running the business, rather than scaling something. So let's talk about how I prioritize not only a profitable and freedom-based business, which of course we all want, but a calm business too. And I kind of hinted at it earlier. So this is the second big idea, is that I focus in on creating one sales system and one signature evergreen program. One sales system, one signature program. So when we think about the sales system, what I mean by that is this is a way that people can find out who I am, get to know me, see what I'm about. I can make an offer, and for the right people, they join my program. Right? That's my sales system. It's this way of taking someone who has no idea who I am for them to become a client. I have a repeatable sales system that I use regularly that brings people into my world, right? So that means I say no, or I don't focus as much on other strategies. So I, for example, use ads as my main lead source, as the main way I grow my audience. I'm not going to networking. I'm not going to events. I'm not trying all these different strategies on Instagram. I'm not doing a bunch of collaborations. I'm not guest podcasting. I'm not doing all these other things. I've gone all in on one strategy, which means that I have a calmer business because there's focus in it. I know I'm going to use ads. I know I'm going to use this one sales system, and I know what I'm going to sell at the end of it. And I know what rhythm I'm selling it on. So there's this kind of cyclical nature to the business. So I think about it when I was a teacher, when I used to mentor teachers, the thing that would stress them out is they would come to school and they'd be like, oh my gosh, what am I going to teach today? I'm like, you shouldn't wonder what you're going to teach today. You need to have a routine. You need to have rhythms. You need to have cycles. So it's I could show up to school 5 minutes before the bell, or at the bell. I'm not going to lie. I definitely showed up at the bell. And I already knew exactly what I was teaching that day. Everything was prepped because I had a rhythm that I followed. I had a cycle. There was routine to what I was doing, right? And our businesses, for it to be calm and regulated, is you want to have that. You want to have elements that are predictable in your business. You want to know, this is how I bring people into the business. This is how I sell. This is what I'm selling. And so when you have that one deciding factor, it feels so much calmer because you know how you're going to do it. And then you're not creating all the time, you're refining. And so that's how I started thinking about having that calm business, is I have rhythms and routines, and I focus in on doing the same things regularly and improving them rather than always starting. And I have one sales system and one signature evergreen program. And what I mean by evergreen is it's not a start-stop model. It means that I have people that come in regularly through regular intakes. I don't let people in any old time, but I do have regular intakes that people can come into my world. So I'm not creating something new. I'm not waiting for my product program to end to be able to sell again. I have regular intakes where people can come in. And so it creates this consistency and calm in my business with my one sales system and my one signature evergreen program, which my main program is signature program design. So my last idea that I want to share is how do I identify the one main shift you need for a calmer business? If you're starting to feel like, okay, I love this idea, but my business does not feel calm. Maybe you're stressed about income and cash flow. Maybe you're stressed about delivering for your clients. Maybe it doesn't feel calm because you're giving so much to your one-to-ones. I want to give you some ideas and some ways to think about what's the one main thing that you need to shift to create a calmer business. And you're likely missing one element. So we're going to get into that into a second. But the first thing I'd like to think about is when something happens in the business, because obviously there's always seasons where I'm going to be like a little bit more stressed. The first thing I think about is I like to look at my day, throughout my day, and think about what time of day am I especially stressed. So I used to do this with teachers when I was mentoring them, is like when they were really stressed, they would think like the whole day is stressful. But when we actually look at it, there was a specific time and usually transition point in their day that was especially stressful, and that's what we addressed. So for you as an entrepreneur, look at your morning, your afternoon, your evening. Is there a specific time of day that you especially feel stressed or you don't have that sense of calm? Because that can give you some clues. Or even if you look at it over a number of weeks, is there a specific season that brings up stress for you? Because we want to find the source of the stress. Is it a specific type of client that you're bringing in that doesn't feel calm anymore? Is it working with your VA maybe? Is it that you feel like you've got too much to do and you don't have enough time, maybe you need some more systems? Or is it that lack of regular, consistent revenue? What's that source of stress for you in the business? And what I've noticed is it often comes down to either missing an element or having too much of something. And here's what I mean. You might miss a piece of this framework that I'm going to share. So the 3 elements that I always share to have that scalable offer that feels calm, regulated in your business, the first thing that you need is a magnetic offer. You need a way of articulating what it is that you do so that the right people know that it's right for them. You need a magnetic offer. The next thing you need is, I usually say, a strong program design, but the more I look at it, if you want to have calm in your business, if you want to have more regulation, I recommend not just a strong program design, but a signature evergreen program that you can sell regularly. If you are selling new offers all the time, if you are selling multiple different offers at once, that's going to create a lot of extra work, and it's going to feel more stressful. So this is where I mean by oftentimes we either have too much of one or not enough of one. Either you don't have one offer that you sell, or maybe you have multiple different offers that you sell and you're getting pulled in all directions. And maybe the thing that you need to focus in on is having that one signature offer and perhaps making it evergreen. And we can chat about that. If you're wondering, actually send me a message. I would love to chat about it more on the podcast if that's something that would be helpful for you. But evergreen, there's lots of different ways to make evergreen work, but having that regular, consistent program that you can sell on a consistent, regular basis, that creates a lot of calm. And really I think what creates a lot of calm in our business is when we feel safe and when we can have some level of predictable, that I know what's going to happen, because entrepreneurship doesn't feel predictable. So when you can create that routine for yourself, that rhythm for yourself, you can manage the waves. And if you're thinking of yourself in a boat, right, you can handle a bit of the turbulence because you still have that clear thing that you're doing regularly, right? So having that one signature evergreen program that you can sell regularly, that you know, okay, people buy this, I'm going to bring people in regularly, can create this sense of predictability and calm for you in your business. And then you can be creative outside of that. There's different ways that you can be creative outside of it, but you need that foundation. When you're always creating new, it doesn't have that same level of calm. And the last element that you need is a repeatable sales system. You need a way that you can bring in people consistently, that someone can discover you online or meet you off the street, and then they can become a client, and you have a consistent way of doing that. And so I wonder, as you're listening, do you have a way of bringing in clients consistently, or are you depending on things like referrals and random people stumbling on your website or random conversations that you may be having at networking events? Do you have a regular way that you can say, you know what, I want to bring more people into my program. This is what I'm going to do. It's worked before. I'm going to run it again. You want to have a system that you can run regularly, because then it's like, I don't have to guess how I'm going to get another client next month. I already know, like, oh, this is how I always do it. So let's recap what we've chatted about so far and how to create more calm in your business as someone who has not always felt calm in her business. So the first thing is that the very quality that makes you a great entrepreneur is the one that can stop you from creating that calm business and scaling the business. And that you might not even recognize in yourself if you're anything like me. And that is your ability to think creatively and think of new ideas and sell new things. So instead of always creating, what if you could use that creativity and funnel it into that one program, that one sales system, and make it work better rather than always starting from scratch? So that's the first thing, is that same quality. If you recognize it in yourself, it's a fantastic quality as an entrepreneur, but we also need to be able to use it in a way that's supporting us rather than stressing us out by creating too many things. The second big idea I shared is how I created a profitable and freedom-based business, but a calm business too, which was with one sales system and one signature evergreen program. And then to identify the one shift you might need for a calmer business, we looked at looking at times of your day and when is it especially stressful, so you can start to pinpoint where that stress is especially coming from, or that lack of calm in your day. And thinking about, do you have either too much of one element or not enough? And we want to have one of each: a magnetic offer, repeatable sales system, and one signature program. And I would argue a signature evergreen program. So if this episode was helpful for you, this is what we chat about on a regular basis in signature program design. So you have that one signature offer that you feel really good about, that you feel really good about selling, that you feel really good about fulfilling, like that you know you can sell because you believe in it so wholeheartedly, and how to actually fill it regularly, having a sales system that feels good to you, that feels aligned, that doesn't feel salesy and yucky. That's what we talk about all the time in signature program design. So if you would like to hear when we do have another intake, send me a message on Instagram with the word waitlist, and I will let you know when we do another intake, and you'll be first to know so that you can join us as well when the time opens up. So I would love to hear from you. You can send us a message on Instagram, and I will see you on the next week's episode of the Program Design Podcast.